this is where it's going to come out, because it is literally Joey Deef and I just reacting to the news, just like all you guys do. So I want to put that out there. And yes. And then, you know, I have, there's a couple little Epstein things that we've left hanging that we got to get to, but another bombshell dropped last night. Like, just when you think, actually, let me correct that record. Of course you don't think there's an end to these files. There were 3 million that have been released, even with all the redactions. You're always going to be finding some sort of new connection. But now, Dario Amodei over at Anthropic, well, he got caught up right at home with his wife, who's got a real interesting life story there, Joey Deef.
Yeah, we're going to have to dive into that one.
We're going to have to dive into that. This is one of the more, of all of them, when you remove all of like the code word emails and stuff like that, that's obviously viscerally disgusting and everything. This is one of the more like aged, really, really badly email threads you'll ever see in the files. So shout out to the Wall Street Journal for uncovering all this, and shout out to Cammie Clark. That is the name of Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic's wife, for, you know, giving us this blessed story on here as we record on a Friday evening. But we'll get to that. And then what would another episode be without giving a little update on the whole Flock situation? Hey guys, 3 quick things. Number 1, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's a huge, huge help. Number 2, if you'd like to join my Patreon for early uncensored releases of the full episodes, you can join via the link in my description or in the pinned comment below. And number 3, if you'd like to join my clipping community for a chance to make content from the show and make money, you can join via the Discord link in my description below. Which, by the way,
yeah,
little inside baseball here. Somebody from Flock reached out to a good friend of mine this week. You hear about this, Joey Deef?
No, I didn't. You didn't fill me in.
Yeah, so they were upset. They were not happy with my coverage of their beloved camera company. I'm going to keep their name out of it. Obviously, I wouldn't do that to this person. But, you know, they were talking a big game. Oh, man, he's got this all wrong. We're just here trying to protect and serve. And, you know, a lot of bullshit. And obviously, I have been very harsh, and I will continue to be harsh because, unlike the people at Flock, I have kind of studied why the Revolutionary War was fought, and then what we did in the aftermath in creating the Constitution, which wasn't a perfect document, but it was a really fucking good one that went through specific situations just like this. They thought about this 250 years ago, you know, to talk about the whole, like, not letting a tyrannical government invade your life and do all these things that are, I would say, pretty not good, right, Joey Deef? That's fair to say.
No, I can get behind that. Not good. Not good, common, but bad.
And that's the thing. I have 2 modes on this show now, and this is really important to say. I've kind of explained this before, but let me be really clear because this is a great example. When I'm doing my guest episodes, of which we're doing 2-3 hour episodes every week, with the way we're booking people, we're going to be moving that up to 3 at some point here if I can keep up with the capacity. But when I do those, it requires less of me expressing opinion on things. When I do these episodes on the weekends, we happen to cover some really big stories where, like, the public sentiment, we're speaking a lot of what you guys are thinking. So, for example, Jeffrey Epstein raping kids. Pretty safe to say all you guys out there don't support that. So obviously we don't support that either because we have common sense and we cover it and everyone can agree with that.
Point.
When we're covering things like, you know, another potential endless war in the Middle East, also pretty safe to say we got pretty good polling on our sides that many of you out there disagree with that whole thing and having more of our guys go over there to die, probably for another country. So we talk about that too. I've expressed these lines in the sand before in episodes, but I'm just repeating for clarification right here. When we're talking about people putting cameras all over the fucking country so that they can watch where we take a shit and measure the microbiomes in there so that they can fuck us later on a DNA test for nothing when we did nothing wrong just because they feel like being a fucking overlord like it's 1984. Yeah, I'm going to talk out against that. And I'm not just going to keep it to one company, Flock. They're the soup du jour at the moment. But there are other companies here underneath the surface there that are looking to get in and take that marketplace. And when they start to do that, as we've already seen some potential ripples in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be calling that out too. So, yeah, I look at things, and when I'm expressing these opinions, it's on stuff that the ball is already really there. That said, this is where it's going to come out, because it is literally Joey Deef and I just reacting to the news, just like all you guys do. So I want to put that out there. And yes, as I said, I've been very harsh on Flock with good reason. I have very good evidence to be harsh on them. Their CEO gives me the heebie-jeebies, as they say. This is a guy who, to say he can't read a room would be putting it lightly. I mean, he is, what's his name? Greg?
You know what? You know what's
Who
funny?
cares?
I don't even. Yeah,
Who
I
cares?
don't give it space
Whatever.
in the brain.
Now, I did invite, after I like shredded him for like 8 minutes, I did invite Greg, I think it's Greg, on the show a few weeks ago.
Is it Craig or Greg?
Whatever. Pam or Pan, it's the same shit. 2 M's, 2 N, who cares? But I did invite him on the show, which was like kind of a joke at the end of the bit, but it was also serious in the sense that, of course, he could come on the show. But this person who reached out to a very close friend of mine was suggesting that he come on the show. And what I will say is that if he did want to do that, can we actually get his name just to be sure? I actually, in this instance, should be very clear, like rather than completely joking on it, because this is actually the serious part of it.
Wait.
What is it?
It's Garrett Langley.
Garrett Langley. All right, so it wasn't Craig or Greg. Garrett Langley. If, as this person who reached out to my friend suggested that he should come on the show, if he wanted to do that, I would do it. And here's how it would go. So that we'll just set the baseline right now. And to be clear, I've never talked to this guy before. I have no idea what the thought is there.
Set the baseline, though.
Yeah, that's just the idea that this friend of a friend reached out to try to say that I was talking bullshit. But if I did have Garrett on the show, obviously it wouldn't be in this context of me just hosting the show and him sitting here. It would be in the guest context. A couple things would happen. Number one, I would absolutely have Tommy G here with me. I think that would be amazing, because Tommy G is the one who was man on the ground, who really ripped this story open. He's a very close friend of mine.
Good idea.
An amazing guy, too. Someone who is as genuine as they come. Someone who I have witnessed over the years now sit down or talk with people who he has serious reservations about and be nothing but respectful, fair, and kind, even when he presses them. We've talked about the Adam Smith interview he did right in this seat on Zoom when he was at the apartment last time. So that I would definitely have Tommy G here. I think that would just be an amazing kind of conversation. And to be clear, I'm not going to let Garrett come in here and just like spew the Bible of fucking Flock and get no pushback or anything like that. We're going to be pushing back the whole fucking time, because obviously it's very clear where my stance is on this stuff. But he'd get a fair hearing. And I'd want to know more about what his backstory is and kind of how he got to this point, how he sees the world, and see if there were a way, not necessarily on the cameras themselves, but a way that we could find some common ground about things that need to be considered moving forward, which, to be clear, Joey Deef, in my book, that might be like, yo, you need to find a different idea here. This company ain't it. I'm just being honest about that. I really don't like this. And if we have time to get to that today, there's just much more stuff this week about the technology and the implications of how far this is stretching, things they've talked about internally that have been leaked that are straight up dystopian. And like, I'm never, ever going to sit here and be like, I might be missing some there. You could have a point.
No point.
You don't have a point in that case. It's like other people have said this on my show, and then most recently Baron Coleman said this. He's like, we live in a country where the idea is, it's supposed to be, it is worse to have one innocent man in prison than it is 100 guilty men on the street. Does that make the world perfect? Does it make it nice? No. But that's how you ensure you don't get tyrannical government. You put the government to the test, and I completely agree on that. Brian McMonagle, back in episode 115, famously said, I believe, like the same thing. And, Brian McMonagle is one of the most legendary defense attorneys to ever live, represented a lot of different people. But, I just think that's so important. So if that conversation would happen, and I have no reason to think it would, but if it did, as this person from Flock who reached out to suggest, we would do it in good faith, we would do it fairly, and we wouldn't just be fucking yelling at him the whole time. I'd want to hear what he has to say, and he would absolutely get pushback. So that I want to make that clear. And guys like that, in my experience, they don't like going on platforms where it's not all preconceived and they don't know exactly what they're getting, especially if they're not exactly an adept public communicator or room reader, as Garrett appears to not be. But if we get to some more of that today, if we don't get to some more of that today, we will get to that next week. There's just a bunch of new information on that. Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.